this video is about. She drove past the restaurant and the billionaire called her name, surprising her. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The evening air was thick with the scent of rain-soaked pavement and blooming jasmine as Maya drove her modest sedan past the vibrant facade of La Belle Epoque, the upscale restaurant that had become the backdrop for countless whispered secrets and stolen glances. Its soft, ambient light spilled onto the street like a warm invitation, illuminating the gathering crowd of elegantly dressed patrons and the sharp click of high heels against cobblestone. But tonight, the sight only stirred a bittersweet nostalgia within her. She had spent too many evenings there, nestled in the plush booths where the velvet cushions cradled her, and the candlelight danced over the fine porcelain plates. Those moments had been shared with laughter, hopes, and dreams, often accompanied by the shimmering presence of Elias Sinclair, the enigmatic billionaire who had once captivated her every thought. His charm had been magnetic, a gravitational pull that had drawn her into a world she had never known existed, a world that now felt like a distant memory. As she approached the intersection, a sudden jolt of her heart caused her to glance back at the restaurant. Just as she did, a voice sliced through the ambient noise of the city like thunder through a calm sky. Maya. She slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching against the asphalt as her breath caught in her throat. Elias stood at the entrance, silhouetted against the restaurant's golden glow. Clad in a tailored suit that seemed to mold to his tall, athletic frame, he looked every bit the man she remembered, the man who had once swept her off her feet, only to leave her standing on the precipice of a heart-wrenching goodbye. Their eyes met, and in that instant the swirling chaos of emotions surged back, desire, regret, and an unquenchable yearning. She had thought she was over him, she had convinced herself of it. Yet here he was, and everything she thought she had buried resurfaced with an intensity that left her breathless. Maya, he called again, his voice deeper than she remembered, rich with an urgency that felt like a lifeline thrown to a drowning sailor. Her instinct was to drive away, to escape the emotional tempest brewing inside her. But instead, she found herself unbuckling her seatbelt. It was a decision that felt both reckless and inevitable, as if fate had conspired to push her back into his orbit. With a deep breath, she stepped out of her car, her heart thudding loudly in her chest. "Elias," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper as she approached him, the thrumming pulse of the city surrounding them. He stepped forward, closing the distance, and for a fleeting moment the world around them faded. The way he looked at her, those piercing blue eyes that seemed to see straight through to her soul, sent tremors of longing through her. It was as if no time had passed at all. They were still those two young souls lost in a whirlwind of passion and ambition. "Is it really you?" he asked, his gaze searching her face for answers. "I thought I'd never see you again." Maya hesitated, unsure how to articulate the whirlwind of feelings that had swept through her since their last encounter. "It's been a while. 2 years, 3 months, and..." He hesitated, his lips twitching into a smirk. 6 days, but who's counting? She couldn't help but laugh, a sound that felt foreign yet familiar, warming her from within. "You seem to have a precise memory for details." "It's because of you," he replied, his tone shifting to something softer, more serious. "You were unforgettable." The weight of the moment wrapped around them, and for a heartbeat, Maya felt the walls she had built around her heart begin to crack. "You were unforgettable too," she admitted, her cheeks warming under his scrutiny. "But I didn't expect to see you here, standing outside a restaurant that used to mean so much to us." His expression darkened momentarily, as if the memories of what had transpired between them had caught him off guard. "I know. I didn't plan on being here either," he confessed, running a hand through his tousled hair, a gesture that felt achingly familiar. "I came to meet a client, but when I saw you drive by, I couldn't let you go without saying something." "Something?" she echoed, her heart racing as they stood just inches apart. Was this brave step toward closure or the start of something they had thought was buried? "Anything, I wanted to see you, to know how you've been." Maya swallowed hard, the lump in her throat threatening to suffocate her. "I've been okay, I guess. Trying to figure things out," she said, her voice tinged with honesty. "What about you? You're still as successful as ever, I presume." "Success in business doesn't mean success in life," he replied, his expression turning pensive. "It's funny how you chase after dreams, and then you realize what you really want once it slips through your fingers." The vulnerability in his voice chipped away at her defenses. "Elias, please," he interrupted, raising a hand as if to stall her. "I'm not here to dredge up the past. I just wanted to see you again, to know if the connection we had was real or just an illusion we created to escape our realities." She searched his eyes, wanting desperately to understand his truth. "You know it was real. We were two souls colliding in a world built on expectations," he finished for her, his tone bittersweet. "But there's so much more to life than what we once wanted. I've made mistakes, Maya. I hurt you when I didn't mean to." The sincerity in his voice struck a chord deep within her. "You didn't intend to hurt me, but you did." "I know, and I regret it every day," he admitted, his gaze unwavering. "I thought when I left it would be easier for both of us, but I see that I was wrong. I didn't realize how much you meant to me until I was gone." Maya's breath hitched as emotions surged, frustration, longing, and a glimmer of hope. "But we can't just pretend everything is okay. You made choices that changed everything." "I'm not asking you to forgive me," he said softly, his eyes reflecting sincerity. "But I'm here now. I've changed, and I want to show you that I'm more than the man who walked away. I want to prove to you that I can be better, for you, for us." The weight of his words hung in the air, heavy with possibility. Maya felt the pull of their shared history, the unspoken promises, and the dreams they had once crafted together. But she also felt the sting of betrayal and the uncertainty of what could lie ahead. "Elias," she began, but he stepped closer, closing the gap even further. "Maya, please, can we at least have dinner? Just one meal together." His voice was low and imploring, tinged with a vulnerability that tugged at her heart. "Let's talk, catch up. It doesn't have to mean anything beyond sharing a moment that doesn't have to end." Her heart raced, caught in the crossfire of hope and fear. She wanted to say yes, to give into that magnetic pull, but the ghosts of their past loomed large. "I don't know if I'm ready for that," she replied, her voice trembling. "Just consider it a step towards understanding," he suggested, his tone soothing. "No pressure, just us, remembering what drew us together in the first place." Maya looked into his eyes, searching for any hint of the man she had once loved so fiercely. It was there, hidden beneath layers of regret and determination. Perhaps this was her chance, not just to revisit old wounds, but to explore the potential for healing. "Okay," she finally said, her heart fluttering with uncertainty. "One dinner just to talk." A smile broke across his face, one that ignited a warmth in her chest. "Thank you. You won't regret it," he promised, that familiar spark igniting between them once more. As they stood there, suspended in time, the city buzzed around them, oblivious to the emotional reunion unfolding under the flickering streetlight. The night air held the promise of fresh beginnings, and for the first time in years, Maya felt the weight of the past begin to lift ever so slightly, revealing a path toward the future, whatever that might hold. As Maya stood outside La Belle Epoque, the city felt alive, a cacophony of laughter and chatter reverberating in the air, but all she could focus on was Elias. His presence was intoxicating, stirring memories she had tried to bury, yet his earnest gaze held an undeniable allure that made her heart race. She had agreed to dinner, but the reality of it sent ripples of anxiety through her. "Shall we?" he asked, gesturing toward the entrance with a tilt of his head, his eyes sparkling with a mix of hope and something deeper, something that made her pulse quicken. She nodded, tightening her grip on the strap of her purse as they stepped inside the ambience of dim lights and soft music. The restaurant welcomed them with its warm, inviting atmosphere, the rich scent of gourmet dishes wafting through the air. They were led to a booth in the far corner, a place that felt almost intimate, and Maya couldn't help but recall the long nights they had spent in such settings, laughing and sharing dreams. As they settled into the plush seats, Maya took a moment to survey the restaurant. The elegant decor, the subdued conversations, and the clinking of glasses all felt familiar, yet foreign under the weight of their shared history. Elias sat across from her, his posture relaxed, but there was an intensity in his gaze that belied his calm demeanor. "Do you remember our first date here?" he asked, leaning forward slightly, a playful smile tugging at the corners of his lips. "Of course," she replied, a light laugh escaping her. "You insisted on ordering that ridiculous tasting menu. I nearly choked on the escargot." He chuckled, the sound rich and warm, and for a moment the tension lifted. "You had that look of pure horror. I thought you would never forgive me for it." "I didn't," she teased, but there was a sincerity beneath her sarcasm. "You were so confident about it. I remember thinking I'd never met anyone like you." "Confident or foolish?" he countered, his expression shifting to one of contemplation. "I was so certain of everything back then, yet here I am now, questioning every decision I made." "Life has a way of doing that," Maya replied softly, her heart aching with empathy. "We think we have it all figured out until it all falls apart." He nodded, the flicker of vulnerability in his eyes mesmerizing her. "I wish I had realized sooner how much I was risking. You were my anchor, Maya. I was just too lost in my ambitions to appreciate it." His words hung in the air, heavy with regret, and she felt the swell of emotions rise within her. The memories washed over her, late-night discussions about their dreams, the warmth of his touch, the way he made her feel like she was the only person in the world. It was intoxicating and exhausting all at once. "I think we were both lost in different ways," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "I was trying to figure out who I was outside of your shadow, and you were chasing something you thought defined success. Maybe we were just two ships passing in the night, constantly missing each other," he mused, his gaze unwavering, as if he was searching for something within her. "Or maybe we just didn't know how to navigate the waters together," she suggested, and he smiled, that genuine smile that had once disarmed her completely. It rekindled the flicker of hope she thought she had extinguished. "What if we could navigate them now?" he asked, leaning in, the distance between them shrinking. "What if we could try again, but this time with clearer skies?" Maya's breath caught in her throat. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. Could they really start anew? Did she dare allow herself to hope? "Elias, it's not that simple," she replied, but her heart raced at the very thought. "Nothing worth having ever is," he countered gently, his eyes searching hers. "I want to show you that I've changed. I want to be the man you deserve, not the one who hurt you." "What does that even mean?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, the vulnerability stark in her eyes. "You can't just erase the past." "No, I can't, but I can learn from it," he said earnestly. "I've had time to reflect, to understand what I truly want. And what I want is you, because you are extraordinary, Maya. You always were." The way he said her name, that soft, reverent tone, sent shivers down her spine. She felt the familiar warmth pooling in her chest, battling with the fear that threatened to consume her. "But can we really go back to what we had? Or will it just end in heartbreak again?" Elias sat back slightly, running a hand through his hair, the weight of her question settling between them. "I don't want to go back. I want to move forward," he said, his voice firm yet tender. "We can't change what happened, but we can build something new. I believe we owe it to ourselves to at least try." Maya's mind raced, torn between longing and caution. "It's just so complicated. I've built a life without you. There are things I've done, people I've met." "I know," he interrupted, his expression earnest. "And I'm not asking for you to forget those things. I just want a chance to show you that I can be different, that we can be different together." The sincerity in his tone tugged at her heartstrings, igniting memories of their shared laughter, the warmth of his embrace, and the dreams that had once intertwined their lives. But the shadows of their past loomed large, whispering reminders of pain. "Maybe we could take things slow," she suggested hesitantly, her pulse quickening at the prospect of opening up again. "Just see where this leads without forcing anything." Elia's expression shifted, hope flooding his features. "I'd like that," he said, his voice a soft caress, soothing her frayed nerves. "No pressure, just us getting to know each other again. Is that okay?" "Okay," she replied softly, a flutter of excitement mingling with her residual fears. The notion of taking a step forward felt both exhilarating and precarious, but something deep within her whispered that perhaps this was the path she needed to explore. The waiter arrived to take their orders, and as he left, Elias leaned closer again, his voice low and intimate. "So tell me, what have you been up to these past couple of years?" And just like that, the conversation flowed, easy and natural, as they shared pieces of their lives. Maya's promotion at work, her passion for painting, her newfound love for traveling, Elias' recent ventures into philanthropy, his efforts to give back to the community, and the lessons he had learned along the way. With every shared story, the distance between them shrank, allowing laughter and warmth to fill the space where uncertainty had lingered. They reminisced about their favorite moments, the way the world felt lighter in each other's presence, and the dreams that had once seemed so attainable. "Do you remember that time we got caught in a rainstorm?" Maya asked, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "You insisted on running through it instead of taking cover. I thought you were absolutely insane." "I remember," he replied, chuckling at the memory. "But it was exhilarating, and you loved it too, admit it." "Maybe a little," she conceded, a smile breaking across her face. "But you got us both soaked, and I ended up with a cold." He grinned, his eyes gleaming with playful mischief. "But it was the best cold ever, right?" As they continued exchanging stories, the walls surrounding Maya's heart began to crumble further, piece by piece. The lure of rekindling their romance danced tantalizingly close, yet she could still feel the shadows of her past hovering just out of reach. "Can I ask you something?" Elias said, his tone shifting to one of seriousness as they finished their meal. "Anything," she replied, her heart pounding in her chest, anticipation hanging in the air. "Do you believe in second chances?" he asked, his eyes searching hers for answers. Maya hesitated, the weight of his question heavy on her heart. "I don't know. I think it depends on the people involved and whether they're willing to learn from their mistakes." "Then maybe we should give ourselves that chance," Elias suggested, his gaze unwavering, filled with determination. "Because I know that what we had was real, and I believe it can be even better now." She searched his eyes, looking for any hint of insincerity, but all she found was honesty and a glimmer of hope. "Maybe," she whispered, a cautious smile creeping across her lips. "Maybe," he echoed, and a wide grin broke across his face, illuminating his features. "I'll take that, one step at a time, Maya." The rest of the evening melted away as they shared more laughter, stories, and tantalizing hints of what the future might hold. The emotional undercurrent between them pulsed with an electricity that spoke of longing and unresolved feelings, stitching together their past with the promise of new beginnings. As they left the restaurant, hand in hand, surrounded by the city's vibrant nightlife, Maya felt a flicker of hope igniting. As they stepped out of La Belle Epoque, the cool night air wrapped around them like a comforting embrace, contrasting sharply with the warmth they had just shared inside. The city was alive, pulsating with energy, a symphony of laughter, music, and distant sirens that wove through the streets. Maya felt the buzz of life around her, but all she could really focus on was the feeling of Elia's hand in hers, warm and reassuring. "Where to now?" Elias asked, his voice playful, as they walked down the cobblestone street lined with flickering lampposts. Maya glanced over at him, momentarily lost in the depths of his blue eyes. "I don't know. I haven't really thought about it," she admitted, her heart fluttering at the unexpected prospect of a spontaneous adventure. He chuckled softly, the sound sending a pleasant shiver down her spine. "How about a walk along the river? The view is beautiful at night, and I could use a little more time with you." She felt the rush of warmth in her cheeks at his suggestion. The river was a place they had both cherished, where they would often go to escape the chaos of their lives and share dreams under the stars. "That sounds perfect," she said, her voice barely a whisper, as if she feared saying it too loudly would shatter the moment. They turned toward the river, walking side by side, still holding hands. The gentle sound of water lapping against the banks filled the air, intertwining with the sound of their footsteps. As they approached the water's edge, the moonlight shimmered on the surface, casting a silver glow that mirrored the stars above. "Here we are," Elias said, stopping at a small wooden bench overlooking the river. He gestured for her to sit, and she settled beside him, their shoulders brushing against each other, sending warmth shooting through her. Maya looked out at the water, lost in thought. "It's beautiful tonight," she said, her voice soft. "I've missed this." Elias turned toward her, his gaze intense. "I've missed it too. I've missed everything about us. Just being here, talking like this, it feels right." She swallowed hard, the weight of his words settling comfortably in her chest, yet stirring up a whirlwind of emotions. "Right or complicated?" She challenged lightly, trying to mask the vulnerability lurking just beneath the surface. "Complicated," he admitted with a sigh, running a hand through his hair, a gesture she had always found endearing. "But worth it, don't you think? We've both grown, learned. Maybe it's time we let go of the past and focus on what's in front of us." Maya turned to him, searching his expression for any hint of insincerity. "What if we fall back into the same patterns? What if we hurt each other again?" "I won't let that happen," he declared, a fierce determination in his eyes. "I've spent too long reflecting on my mistakes. This time I'm committed to being different, but we need to communicate, to be honest with each other about how we feel." She nodded, feeling the sincerity in his words wash over her like a soothing balm. "Okay, then let's start with honesty," she said, her voice steady. "What do you really want from this, from us?" Elias sighed, leaning back against the bench, his gaze drifting toward the shimmering water as he contemplated her question. "I want a chance to rebuild what we had, but this time with clarity and intention. I want to know the person you've become, Maya, and show you who I've become." His words resonated within her, striking a chord deep in her heart. "But can we really just pick up where we left off? Or is it more like starting over?" "I think it's a little of both," he replied, turning to face her fully. "We can take the lessons from our past and use them to create something stronger. We owe ourselves that much." Maya felt the weight of hope mingling with fear, a delicate balance that made her heart race. "What if it doesn't work out?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Then we'll figure it out together," he reassured, reaching out to tuck a loose strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers brushed against her skin, igniting a flurry of butterflies in her stomach. But I refuse to let fear dictate our choices. You and I have something special, and I believe we can create something even more beautiful this time around. She held his gaze, feeling the intensity of his sincerity wash over her, and for the first time in years, she felt the chains of her past begin to loosen. "Okay," she said softly, the word escaping her lips like a tentative promise. "Let's see where this takes us." Ilya's face broke into a radiant smile, the kind that lit up his entire being and made her heart swell with warmth. "Thank you," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, as if he was afraid to shatter the fragile bubble they had created. They sat in comfortable silence then, the sounds of the river and the occasional rustle of leaves filling the air. In those moments, Maya felt the tension between them shift, replacing their past grievances with a burgeoning sense of possibility. There was a chemistry that hadn't dulled with time. It only felt more profound, more intricate. "So tell me more about you," Elias prompted, breaking the silence. "What have you been doing these past 2 years? I want to know everything." Maya smiled at his enthusiasm, her heart warming at his genuine interest. "Well, I got promoted at work," she began, launching into her story. "I'm now the lead project manager for a new initiative, which is super exciting but also a bit daunting." "Wow, Maya, that's incredible," he exclaimed, genuine pride lighting up his expression. "I always knew you had it in you." "Thanks," she replied, a blush creeping onto her cheeks at his praise. "I've also started painting again. It's something I let slip away when I was focused on work and life, but it feels good to reconnect with that part of myself." "I'd love to see your work," he said, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Art has always been such a big part of who you are. Have you done anything recently?" "I have a few pieces I'm working on," she replied, feeling a flutter of excitement at the thought of sharing her art with him again. "But they aren't quite done yet. Maybe when I feel ready, I'll show you." Elias nodded, clearly intrigued. "I can't wait to see them. I've always admired your talent, Maya. You have a way of capturing emotions and moments on canvas that's just magical." There was an electric charge in the air as they exchanged compliments, weaving their laughter and stories into a tapestry of connection that felt both familiar and new. "And what about you?" she asked, eager to shift the focus back to him. "What have you been up to besides chasing clients and dealing with billion-dollar deals?" He grinned, a lightheartedness radiating from him. "Actually, I ventured into philanthropy," he revealed. "I started a foundation focused on providing educational resources for underprivileged children. It's a cause that's close to my heart." Maya felt a swell of admiration for him. "That's amazing, Elias. I'm really proud of you for that." "Thanks. It's been a rewarding experience," he said, his expression turning serious. "I realize that success isn't just about wealth. It's about how you can use what you have to make a difference in the world." "You've really changed," she said softly, her heart swelling at his newfound perspective. "I can see it in the way you talk about your work now." He glanced at her, sincerity glimmering in his eyes. "I hope I can show you that change isn't just skin deep. I want to prove that I'm worthy of your trust again. I know it'll take time, but I'm willing to put in the effort." "I appreciate that," she replied, feeling the pressure of her past slowly lifting. "But I need to be honest too. I'm scared, Elias. Scared of getting hurt again and scared of losing what we're trying to build." "I understand," he said gently, his gaze unwavering. "But as long as we're honest with each other and communicate openly, I believe we can navigate those fears together. You're not alone in this." As the words settled between them, something shifted in Maya's heart. A tentative hope began to bloom. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but the idea of forging a new path together felt exhilarating. "I want to try," she said, her voice steady and resolute. But it has to be slow and steady, just like you said. I need to be sure that this is real, that we're not just running back to the safety of our past." "Absolutely," Elias agreed, his expression earnest. "No rushing, just us taking one step at a time." They sat there for a moment, sharing the silence, the air thick with unspoken promises and a renewed sense of purpose. The stars above twinkled like the possibilities stretching before them, and as Maya leaned her head against Elia's shoulder, a sense of contentment washed over her. "Thank you for tonight," she said quietly, feeling the warmth of her head resting against his shoulder, the steady rise and fall of his breath grounding her. "Thank you," Elias replied, his voice low and warm, wrapping around her like a well-worn blanket. "For giving me this chance. It means more to me than you could ever know." Maya sighed, allowing herself to revel in the comfort of his presence. It's easy to forget how good it feels to be around you. Even with everything that happened, there's always been this connection, like an invisible thread that ties us together. He turned slightly, tilting his head to meet her gaze. His blue eyes shimmered in the moonlight, reflecting a depth of emotion that sent a ripple of warmth through her. "I've felt it too. No matter how much time has passed or how far we drifted, that thread never snapped. I think it just got tangled along the way. Maybe we're finally untangling it," she suggested, a flicker of hope igniting in her heart. "Together," he added, his voice firm and reassuring. Maya sat up slightly, taking a moment to search his features. "What did you think when you first saw me tonight?" she asked, curious about his initial reaction, the one that had propelled him to call out to her. Elias chuckled, the sound rich and genuine. "I was overwhelmed, honestly. Seeing you again felt like a blast from the past, but also like a spark of something new. I couldn't just let you drive away without knowing how you were." She smiled at the confession, feeling a warm flush spread across her cheeks. "I didn't expect to see you at all. It was surreal. Surreal in a good way, I hope." His voice was teasing, but there was a seriousness beneath it, a need to understand her feelings. "Yes, definitely in a good way," she reassured him, biting her lip as her heart raced at the thought of what lay ahead. But it also brought back a lot of memories, some good and some, well, painful. Painful memories are hard to shake, especially when they come from something that once felt so right, he replied, his expression contemplative. "But I believe we can create new ones. Just last week, I remembered our trip to the coast, a spontaneous adventure that turned into one of my favorite memories." Maya laughed softly, remembering the thrill of that trip. "Oh, I remember how we got lost because you insisted on taking that shortcut. We ended up on that cliff, and you thought it was the perfect spot for a picnic." "Best picnic ever," he interjected with a smile. "I still think about it sometimes. The food was terrible, but the view was breathtaking." "Terrible doesn't begin to cover it," she laughed, shaking her head. "But you made it fun, as you always did. I remember we ended up laughing so hard that day, we nearly fell off the cliff." Elias' laughter mingled with hers, filling the air with a lightness that felt golden. "You know, those moments are what I miss the most. The laughter, the adventures. I want to create more of those with you." Maya felt a warmth bloom in her chest, a flicker of excitement at the prospect of rekindling their old spirits. "So, what's next on our adventure list?" she asked, leaning closer, her curiosity piqued. "How about we go back to the coast?" he suggested, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "This time, I promise I'll navigate." "Really? Back to where we got lost?" she teased, raising an eyebrow, but the idea thrilled her. "I might hold you to that." "Consider it a challenge," he said, grinning. "It'll be a memorable experience, I promise." "Okay, but this time I'm packing the snacks," she declared, her heart beating faster at the thought of a road trip filled with laughter and old memories. "Deal," he replied, his voice earnest. "And I won't let you forget the sunscreen either." As they exchanged playful banter, the emotional tension between them began to shift, weaving a new thread of connection that felt lighter and more hopeful. In that moment, the weight of their past began to lift, revealing an endless horizon of possibilities. Elias, Maya began, her voice softening as the laughter faded. Can we talk about us? Like, really talk about it? Of course, he said, shifting to give her his full attention. What's on your mind? I guess I'm just trying to understand. If we're really doing this, she said, her heart pounding. If we're really trying again. I don't want to rush into anything, but I also don't want to deny what we could be. I want to explore this together, Maya, he replied earnestly, his gaze steady. I'm not expecting us to fall back into anything overnight. I know we need to rebuild trust, to communicate openly. I want to take this at your pace. His sincerity washed over her like a soothing balm. I appreciate that, she said, nodding. I just need to know that if we're doing this, we're both in it for the right reasons. I want us to be better this time. Agreed, he said, his voice low and steady. I want to be clear that my intentions are serious. I've had time to think, and I realize how much I value you and what we shared. I want to make it right this time. No illusions, no running away. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, a mix of relief and gratitude swelling within her. I've always valued what we had too. You were my first love, and that doesn't just fade away. Exactly, he said softly, his expression filled with understanding. We shared something special, and I believe we can create something more profound now that we've grown. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their shared history. How do we start then? She asked, her voice steady, yet vulnerable. I think we simply keep doing what we're doing, he suggested, a gentle smile playing on his lips. We explore our friendship, share our lives, and allow the romance to develop naturally. As long as we're honest with each other, I believe we'll be able to navigate the complexities in a way we didn't before. Okay, she replied, a smile creeping across her face. I like that plan. Good, he said, leaning closer, his gaze piercing into hers. And if at any point you feel uncomfortable or need space, promise me you'll tell me. I promise, she said, feeling the sincerity of his words resonate within her. And you promise the same. Absolutely, he replied, holding her gaze intently. This is a partnership, and I want us to communicate openly. As the night wore on, Maya felt a sense of warmth enveloping them, a cocoon of trust that had begun to form between them. They shared more stories, their laughter punctuating the warm night air, and gradually, the past felt less like a burden and more like a foundation for something new. At one point, Elias turned to her with a playful smirk. So, tell me, what's your absolute favorite memory of us? Maya paused, a finger tapping thoughtfully against her chin. That's a tough one, she said, her heart fluttering at the memories that flooded her mind. But I think it has to be that night we danced in the rain. Elias' eyes sparkled with recognition. Oh, that was magical. We were so young and reckless, just two kids without a care in the world. Exactly, she said, her smile widening at the memory. I remember how you pulled me outside, laughing like a lunatic, and then we just danced like no one was watching. It felt so freeing. I wish I could go back to that moment, he said, his voice filled with warmth. You were radiant, and I was so happy just to be with you. I felt the same, she admitted, feeling a blush creeping onto her cheeks. It was one of those moments that felt like pure magic. They shared a smile, the warmth of their connection igniting a flicker of hope for what lay ahead. As the moon shone brightly above them, illuminating their surroundings, Maya felt a sense of peace settling within her. The road ahead might be uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, she felt ready to embrace whatever came next, with Elias by her side. Let's make more memories like that, he suggested, his voice soft yet hopeful. Let's create our own magic again together. Together, Maya echoed, her heart swelling with the promise of new beginnings. As they sat side by side, the river glimmering under the moonlight, she realized that she was ready to take that leap of faith. The threads of their past were intertwining with the promise of a future, and in that moment she knew, whatever happened next, they would face it together.